You ever see a funeral procession get stopped at the gate by someone with a clipboard? Yeah, that happened to me. Except the gate was one I designed myself, and the person blocking it was Claudette Briggs, queen of the Lakeshore Heights HOA, standing there like she owned not just the pavement, but the air above it. One manicured hand on the keypad, the other clutching that clipboard like a shield. Sunlight bouncing off her pastel blazer. She looked at me and said, with this perfect, icy calm, "The rule applies to all commercial vehicles, even for funerals. You want to talk about a moment that sticks in your teeth forever? Try watching your wife's coffin sitting in the back of a hearse, reflection of brass handles catching the sun, while the so-called community leader taps the gate code like she's swiping left on a bad date. I could see the driver's hands trembling on the wheel, looking at me for help. And behind me, God, the line of cars, flowers, friends, people who loved Emily, just stuck in the road like we didn't belong in the neighborhood she helped build. "Claudette," I said, stepping forward, "open it." She didn't even blink. "Without HOA authorization, you'd be violating Section 12. You'll thank me later when your property value doesn't tank." Cameras on every corner, red lights blinking. I realized she was recording this, turning my grief into some kind of HOA evidence. So, I got closer, real quiet, and said, "You think this gate keeps you safe? I designed it. The keypad runs on firmware I wrote." She smirked, but just for a second. There was a crack in the armor. And if you've ever watched someone abuse a rule just to flex, you know where this goes. This isn't just a fine. This ends in court, with everyone watching. My name's Daniel Mercer, structural engineer, and I don't yell or threaten. I build things that last longer than egos. But this was never supposed to be a power game. My wife wanted to come home, to rest under the oak tree she planted. And here I was, stuck behind the gate I helped create. The paramedics said it was peaceful when Emily passed, just a breath leaving quietly. But nothing about this moment was peaceful. Claudette blocked the path, acting like she was the last line of defense against chaos. She told me, "You can leave it at the entrance. We'll arrange for local transport if it meets HOA standards." I just stared her down, said, "You're not touching her." My voice came out low, calm, that kind of calm that means a storm's coming. Sprinklers hissed behind us. Neighbors peeked through their blinds, some filming, some just looking away, pretending not to see. Whispers started, "It's about the gate. You should have filled the form. HOA doesn't make exceptions." And still, I didn't move. The hearse kept idling, a low growl under the Florida sun. When Claudette refused to budge, I realized she wasn't enforcing policy. She was performing. This neighborhood, her stage. My wife's funeral, her prop. I thought about forcing it, wrenching the gate open. Would have taken me 2 minutes, less if I was mad. But Emily hated scenes. She always said, "You can win without shouting, Danny. Just know how the system works." So I stepped back and said, "You'll regret this." Claudette smiled. "Regret is for people without power." The hearse started reversing. Gravel crunched under the tires, and something inside me broke. The coffin caught the sunlight one last time before heading away, before Emily was turned from her own home. I stood there till the dust settled, staring at the locked gate, Claudette's pastel blazer fading into the shadows of the guardhouse. The marble arch above her said, "A community of grace." Funny how that's the word I'd carve onto a plaque months later, right after the verdict, right after no gate in this county could be locked again. Because when you give a builder a reason to dismantle the system, you better hope the system is clean. That night, I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that coffin shrinking in my rear view, taillights disappearing. By morning, the world had moved on, but the gate, still there, shiny, smug. My coffee went cold in my hand when I found the envelope in the mailbox. Citation for non-compliance with community access policy, unauthorized funeral procession. $500. Signed, of course, by Claudette Briggs. I laughed. Couldn't help it. It didn't sound human. Across the street, Mark, the retired firefighter, was trimming hedges. "She's done worse," he muttered when I held up the envelope. "Locked the EMTs out last month. Said sirens were disruptive. The guy at 212 didn't make it." He looked away. "Nobody talks about it. They're scared." "Of what?" I asked. "A woman with a clipboard," he said, not even smiling. "That's the thing. Fear doesn't always wear a mask or carry a gun. Sometimes it carries a letterhead and fines." I walked to the end of the street, looked at the empty security booth, saw my own reflection in the glass. Half of me in shadow. Emily always said this place felt like a movie set, too perfect to be real. Now it felt like a lie. Then Terrell Nash pulled up in his golf cart. HOA security, but not exactly the Secret Service. "Sorry, Mr. Mercer," he said, glancing at the cameras. "She runs it all. I can't open anything without her say-so." "You record everything, right?" I asked. He froze. "That's policy. But Claudette reviews it first. Deletes what she doesn't like." I told him. "I helped design those systems. The camera units have backup feeds. There's an archive." He whispered, "Don't say that out loud." Then he drove off, but the idea stuck. If the HOA was deleting evidence, this was more than a funeral. This was power, unchecked, and I wasn't having it. Back home, I laid out Claudette's letter next to condolence cards. Started sketching the Gates network from memory. Knock at the door. Linda Harper, neighbor, clutching her newspaper like a shield. "You didn't hear this from me," she said. "But she told the board you caused a scene. She's adding another fine. Threatened to revoke pool access if anyone sides with you." I just stared at her. This wasn't an association. This was a mini dictatorship. After she left, I snapped photos of the citation, the gate, the mailbox. Documented everything. That night, I drove to the lake, stared back at the neighborhood, the gate lights shimmering on the water. From outside, it looked like a prison for people who didn't know they were locked in. I made a promise. I'd find proof. Real proof. Because gates keep people out, but they can't keep the truth from getting in. Next morning, I walked into the HOA office. Terrell was behind the desk, looking guilty, stacking papers that didn't need stacking. "You were there," I told him. "That wasn't an incident. That was my wife's funeral." He cracked a little. Said, "She reviews everything. If it makes her look bad, it disappears." "So you've seen her delete footage?" He wouldn't say it, but his hands trembled. That was enough. "Terrell, you have kids?" I asked. He nodded. "Then you know what it's like, trying to keep them safe. You know what it means when someone abuses rules meant to protect." He whispered, "You didn't hear this from me." Slid a folder just close enough for me to see a city logo, then yanked it back. That's all I can show. Proof that she was tampering with more than gate codes. Right then, Claudette walked in. Heels sharp as gunshots, perfume slicing through the air. "Mr. Mercer, still making trouble?" she smiled. "Just following policy, ma'am," I replied. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. After that, I watched the board meeting through the glass wall. Claudette spinning my wife's funeral into a cautionary tale, holding up a photo of the hearse outside the gate. "Compassion without discipline leads to chaos," she intoned. I stepped inside. You all saw what happened. My wife was denied entry because of a rule that doesn't exist. Claudette said, "We followed policy. We protect property values, not feelings." I almost laughed. Bad press was her kryptonite. So I said, "Ask the family at 212 who died waiting for an ambulance." The room went silent. "That's hearsay," Claudette snapped. "Then release the footage," I challenged. She adjourned the meeting on the spot, called security. Terrell hesitated, then let me out. I told the crowd, "You let her lock out ambulances, funerals, anyone she doesn't like, and you call that order." They looked away. That was enough. Doubt had crept in. From there, the dominoes started falling. Public records requests, a city inspector named Laura Keene, a call to the Clearwater Department of Public Works. The city had been cut off from controlling the gate override. Illegal, 3 different ways. Turns out, Claudette's company had been rerouting everything to a private server. Falsified permits, city contract violations, obstruction of emergency access. When the city came to inspect, Terrell finally stepped up, handed over the backup server. Every deleted log, every denied ambulance, every funeral held hostage. In the end, they arrested Claudette right there at the gate. Her clipboard hit the ground, papers scattering like white flags. For the first time, the iron gate slid open, not for her, but for everyone. In court, the jury watched footage of her laughing, saying, "Let him sweat. Rules are rules." They saw her signature on the forged permits. They heard Terrell testify, hands trembling, voice steady. The verdict? Guilty. Obstruction. Falsification. Criminal negligence. 50 years. The Lakeshore Heights HOA, dissolved by court order. The city took over. The Iron Gate came down, piece by piece, sparks flying, like the whole place was finally breathing again. I placed a plaque where the arch used to be. No gate shall close against grace. Emily's words, not mine. As kids biked through where the barriers once stood, Terrell came by. No uniform, just relief in his eyes. You know, he said, I used to think rules made people safe. But it's people who make rules safe. He was right. And for once, the air felt open. Sunlight, no shadows. If you've ever faced someone like Claudette, tell your story in the comments. What would you have done? Do rules protect us? Or do we protect each other? Share your thoughts. Hit subscribe if you believe justice should never get stuck behind a gate.